Welcome to the dark, twisting woods of southern Ohio. There's a place here locals call the Hollow, a quiet stretch of ancient trees, snow-laden trails, and shadows that seem to shift when your back is turned. But the Hollow isn't just an ordinary forest. It's a place of whispers, dread, and things that defy explanation. A place where footsteps are heard in the dark and where eyes stare back from the tree-line. And at the heart of this story is a figure without face or form, known only as the Black Stickman. They say he lurks there, watching, waiting. This is the story of his origins, his sightings, and the accounts of the brave and foolish who have ventured into his woods. Some believe it's an ancient spirit tied to the history of the land itself. Others think it's something far more sinister, something that moves between the veil. But one thing is certain. Those who have encountered him never forget the feeling of cold, empty eyes in the dark. So join us as we uncover the truth behind the Black Stickman. Southern Ohio is a place of dense woods and ancient history. The rolling hills and ravines are beautiful in their own right, but they hold secrets buried beneath their roots. Long before settlers came to this region, the land belonged to the Shawnee, Wyandot, and other Native American tribes. These tribes knew this land well. They spoke of sacred places in the woods, places where spirits lingered and ancient things moved unseen. The Hollow is one of those places. While the name may sound innocuous, locals say it has always carried a feeling of wrongness. In the early 1800s, European settlers began making their way into the area, cutting their way through the ancient woods to make homes and farms. But the woods always seemed to push back against intrusion. Settlers reported strange sightings, unexplained disappearances, and the occasional whisper of a black figure in the distance, a figure they couldn't quite describe. What's terrifying is this. The stories passed down among local settlers always referred to a dark, faceless figure, a figure tall and shadowy, always just out of reach. Was it an ancient spirit, a guardian, or something far more sinister, lurking unseen between the trees? Southern Ohio has always had a way of hiding its secrets. For generations, warnings were passed down. Don't enter the woods after dark. Don't stray too far from the path. Don't listen to the whispers. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, and some would learn that lesson the hard way. By the mid-20th century, the Hollow had become a place of deep superstition. Stories spread about shadowy figures, unexplained figures darting between trees, always just on the edge of your vision. Locals began calling this figure the Black Stickman. No one knew why, but the name stuck. The first real documented sightings came from hunters and travelers, men out in the woods late, returning to town with accounts that would haunt their dreams for the rest of their lives. One of the earliest accounts came from a local woodsman named John Cartwright. He was walking back from a hunting trip late in the winter of 1952. John was alone when he saw it, a tall figure standing motionless at the edge of a clearing. It was just there watching. He described it as being dressed in a black, featureless suit, its face obscured by shadows. John froze. His rifle felt heavy in his hands. He could hear the wind in the trees, but nothing else. The figure didn't move, but the tension was unbearable. John turned his head, aiming to dismiss it, but when he looked back, it was gone. He never returned to the Hollow. Similar accounts began to filter in as more people made their way into these woods. Some hunters would report hearing footsteps behind them, even when they knew they were alone. Some reported sudden cold winds, as though a presence was nearby but unseen. And then came the reports of movement. Those who ventured into the woods at twilight would claim to see a tall, black shape dart between the trees, a stick-like form, humanoid but impossible to describe. Some said it was a shadow person. Some believed it was a demonic presence. But no one could deny the sheer terror of the encounters. They call it the Black Stickman. One of the most harrowing accounts came from a young man named Elliot. Elliot grew up near the woods and had always been skeptical about ghost stories until he had his encounter. It was winter when Elliot decided to take a shortcut through the hollow to visit his grandfather's property. The air was cold and damp. Twilight had come early that evening, the sun slipping behind the trees. As he walked, he felt that unmistakable sensation, the prickling of the hair on the back of his neck. He could feel eyes on him, and then he saw it. Standing at the edge of a clearing was a tall, black figure, humanoid, still, and utterly featureless. Elliot could feel it watching him, as though it had always been there, waiting for him. Panic gripped his chest. His legs felt weak. He turned and ran through the snow, branches scraping against his coat, his breath coming in short, desperate gasps. When he burst into a clearing, he dared to glance back. It was still there, watching. He never returned to the hollow again. Other stories echoed this same pattern. Sightings of figures that moved without sound, staring without eyes, always just on the tree lean, always just when the sun had gone. After decades of these reports, paranormal investigators and researchers began exploring the hollow. Some claimed the figure was demonic, a shadow manifestation from residual energy tied to centuries of ancient trauma. Others pointed to folklore or Native American legends as the origins of this haunting presence. They brought cameras, sound recording equipment, and EMF detectors. What they reported chilled even the most hardened investigators. Cold spots, unexplained footsteps, and a feeling of overwhelming dread plagued their investigations. Sometimes, the presence would manifest as shadows crossing the light of their flashlights, or distant growls that could not be explained. The Black Stick Man was not just a ghost. Some believe it could be an ancient spirit tied to the land, or perhaps an intelligence, something that exists outside the veil and intrudes on our reality. So, who or what is the Black Stick Man? A ghost? A spirit? A shadow? Or something far more ancient and unknowable? Those who have ventured into the hollow may never find the answers, but they will never forget the sensation. The cold, the quiet eyes watching them. Next time you find yourself in the woods at night, ask yourself this: are you truly alone? Or is something out there watching, just waiting for you to let your guard down? Stay safe, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone brave enough to hear it. Also, leave a comment if you know any interesting stories that you want me to cover. And remember, the past is never truly gone. It's always waiting to be discovered.